After 12 years, senior Labour MP and former party leader Andrew Little is calling it quits. His announcement comes following Labour's defeat at the election this past weekend. Retiring Labour MP Andrew Little joins us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
A big decision. When did you come to it?
I've been thinking throughout the election campaign what the possibilities are, and that I thought if we do go back into opposition, that I would then take the opportunity to step out. And I did that largely because we've had, in the last two elections, 2017 and 2020, two really good intakes of new MPs. Now that we're in opposition, we have to think about the next Labor government and the faces that represent that. And we need those faces of the future to come through. So by stepping aside, if I allow one more to come through, get used to the place, develop their skills, then that sets the party up for its future, and that's what's important to me.
But you wouldn't have stepped down if you had won the election?
No, I wouldn't have, but I might have had a question about whether I'd stuck around for the full term. But I was certainly committed to continuing in government. But once you're in opposition, freshly in opposition, you've then got to think about your rebuild and your regeneration. That's important. It's important, I think, for the Labor Party to develop that culture that regeneration is a good thing and the right thing to do. And so we've got the opportunity to do that now.
Sounds to me that you're already thinking about the next election.
Well, we have to. I mean, the reality is the political cycles, 3 years doesn't go for long, doesn't feel long, and you've got to be constantly thinking about the next contest. Politics now is you're kind of almost always in campaign mode. You've got to be thinking about what the future looks like, what your messages are, what you're setting yourself up for, and preparing yourself for the next big challenge.
I realise we've got lots of special votes that need to be counted first, but who is likely to come in because of you leaving?
Look, it's hard to know because there's quite a few, or there are about 3 seats I think that are really on the cusp. The majorities of less than 100. And it really depends on what happens in those seats to determine who comes in. It could be Shannon Halbert, it could be Camilla Bellich, but they are recent,
they're not new names, are they?
Well, they're part of the recent intake, so the most recent intake. So, they are the faces of the future. So they're the ones who we need to be continuing to develop and nurture and to be part of that next phase.
You've had a huge 12 years. Have you had time to reflect on them at all?
Not deeply. I mean, I hopefully will have the chance to do that. Yeah, look, it is, and I know it always sounds cliched when you say that it's a privilege being in Parliament, but it is. It's a privilege being there. It's an even greater privilege to be a minister in a government, privilege to lead a party. All those things have been an amazing experience, and of course they've had their ups and downs. But you come away knowing that you've done things, you've had an impact, and seen some positive things happening, and that's very rewarding. But politics is dynamic. It's got to change. There's got to be change, and there's got to be refresh and renewal, and we've always got to be cognizant of that.
A refresh or a renewal, as in a new Labour leader, maybe?
No, I mean, Chris took over at the beginning of this year. It was, and pretty much on day one, then we had Cyclone Gabrielle and the aftermath of the Auckland floods. So he was in crisis mode straight away. Then the economic conditions changed, and we had the challenges to go with that. So he's had to lead us through all that at a time when the party's support was falling. He's had to step up every day and lead. I think Chris is the right person for the party.
To be the leader of the opposition?
Yeah, well, I think...
It's quite a different role,
Yeah,
right?
you totally. But I think he demonstrated in the campaign, as the campaign wore on, his sort of inner mongrel came out. That's actually what you need for a leader of the opposition. You need to take the fight to the government of the day. Look, the government is duly elected. The National Party and whoever they get in coalition, they are duly elected. They are the government. They've got the job to do. But it is the job of the opposition to hold them to account, call them out, and hold them to the promises that they've made, and to represent an alternative, positive vision for New Zealand. That is the job. But you've got to have a good strong gut instinct and be able to take that fight, and I think Chippy is the one to do that.
So he's the right guy to be the leader of the opposition. Is he the right guy to go into another election to potentially be a Prime Minister again?
Well, I think he is. I think he's got the skills and the talent and the intellect for it. And in the end, he's the only one who can decide that. But I think he is. I think he's demonstrated, and I've worked with him in opposition and in government. He's shown he can work in both sides of the aisle, sort of thing. So I think he is, but he's got to want to.
Who else have you got your eye on in the Labour Party? Because as you say, you are thinking about the next generation coming through, who needs to be the face of the country. Who should we be having a look at while they're in opposition, while you are in opposition?
Look, it's hard to name names. There are so many. I think Labour has been blessed with, as I say, in those last two intakes, and indeed even on the weekend, the two new MPs we've got, Kushla from Ikaroa-Rāwhiti, Ruben from Christchurch, two really talented people, but we've had a lot of talented people come through. Like, I couldn't pick who the next sort of leadership lineup is going to be, but what I do have confidence in is the quality of those people, and that we're not short of talent.
What's next for you? Have you thought about it, or have you just kind of resigned and then you'll figure it out soon?
Yeah, I don't have anything to go to. I'd like to. I mean, I came into Parliament, I came out of the union, but my career was as a lawyer. I loved litigation. I'd love to go back to litigation. I've learned a lot more since that time. So, look, I'll go through the process of getting my practicing certificate back and being able to practice and kind of see what happens. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the law and practicing the law. I'd love to go back to it.
Will you keep being involved with the Labour Party, with your local members? Yeah,
look, it's hard not to when you've had the level of involvement that I've had. I remain totally committed to it. I make myself available to assist in whatever way I can. So, look, once you're sort of steeply involved in the Labour Party, they never let you go, and you never let them go, and I'm happy with that.
Because you are stepping out, and your colleagues are remaining on for another 3 years. What do you think is going to happen in this period when you're in opposition? Because it has been 6 years in power, right? Quite a shift in mood, and we have seen quite a few MPs talking about that transition, but what do you think is going to happen over the next 3 years? Yeah,
I think for the Labour Party, of course, there has to be a review. They'll do their internal review. I think there's scope for debate there. I think what's important is that they very quickly get their footing in opposition, sort out the priorities for them, the stuff they're going to go hard on. I think the other stuff is, reconnecting with communities that I think that perhaps some of our connections had sort of dwindled a bit with, and just the basic organising of getting a party ready to campaign again and ready for government again.
Thank you so much for coming in, and all the best with what comes next. That's retiring Labour MP Andrew Little. It's 13 minutes after 7.